The alien fleet was already dying when the human ship entered the edge of the system. Captain Elias Varon saw it first through the cracked glass of the forward viewport. Hundreds of massive ships floated near a dim, collapsing star. They were beautiful once, shaped like sharp crystals and curved bones of light metal. Now they were dark, frozen, and silent. No movement. No signals. Just death hanging in space. Life signs. Elias asked quickly. His sensor officer shook his head. Weak, very weak. But there are thousands on board. They're not gone yet. That was enough. Elias did not wait for permission. He leaned forward and spoke with sharp focus. Cut all safety limits. We go in. A second officer turned toward him in shock. Captain, the radiation wall is unstable. It will burn out our shields in minutes. Elias did not look away from the fleet. Then we use minutes well. The ship, Aurora Dawn, pushed forward. As they crossed the boundary of the system, alarms screamed. Light bent strangely around them, like space itself was folding in slow pain. The crew felt a pressure in their chests, not physical but deep and uneasy, as if something was watching them breathe. Then it happened. A signal appeared. It was not a normal transmission. It was raw energy shaped into pattern. It repeated every 3 seconds. No language. No code they recognized. Just a repeating structure that felt wrong. The communications officer froze. Captain, this signal is not coming from one ship. It is coming from all of them at the same time. Elias narrowed his eyes. So they are linked. Before anyone could respond, a second alarm hit. A massive alien cruiser ahead of them suddenly shifted. Not moving forward or backward. It twisted slightly like it was being pulled by invisible hands. Then it stopped again. The entire crew went silent. Was that gravity? Someone whispered. No, the sensor officer said slowly, fear creeping into his voice. It was something else. It reacted to us. Elias felt it too now. A strange pressure in the space between thoughts. The closer they got, the more the fleet seemed aware of them. Then a voice broke through the static. It was not human. Leave. The word hit their system like a hammer. The translation software struggled, but the meaning was clear. Elias stepped closer to the console. We are not here to fight. The reply came instantly. All who approach are lost. A sudden flash lit up the space ahead. One alien ship in the distance cracked along its side. Not from weapons. Not from impact. It simply folded inward as if space forgot how to hold it together. The crew gasped. Elias clenched his fists. Something was wrong here. Not just danger. Something unnatural. Scan the source of the distortion, he ordered. The sensor officer worked fast. Then his face turned pale. Captain, it is not coming from one place. It is everywhere inside the fleet. But there is a pattern. It reacts to movement. To thought. Even to attention. Elias paused. You mean it knows we are looking at it? Before the officer could answer, another voice came through the alien signal. This time broken. Slower. Filled with strain. Human a vessel, why, here? The translation stuttered. The words felt old, tired, and afraid. Elias spoke calmly. We detected distress. We are here to help. A long silence followed. Then the answer came, softer but heavier. Help does not exist here. At that moment something changed. A dark ripple moved across the alien fleet. Not physical movement. More like space itself tightening its grip. One of the smaller ships began to bend inward, slowly collapsing as if squeezed by an invisible force. A crew member shouted, "It is happening again. Something is crushing them." Elias acted instantly. Full power forward. We get between them and the source. Captain, that's inside the distortion zone. I said move. The Aurora Dawn pushed forward, breaking formation. The closer they got, the more the air inside the ship felt heavy. Lights flickered. Systems slowed like time itself was dragging its feet. Then something unexpected happened. The alien signal shifted again. This time it focused directly on them. And for the first time it did not sound like a warning. It sounded like recognition. Different, vessel detected. The word echoed through every console. Elias felt a chill. Different how? Before anyone could answer, the ship's external cameras showed something impossible. Between the drifting alien ships, empty space itself was moving. Not as gas or light, but like a living pressure circling slowly, watching, waiting. And as the human ship approached, that invisible presence turned toward them. The entire alien fleet trembled at once, as if reacting in fear. Then every signal stopped for half a second. Silence returned. And in that silence, a single message appeared on all screens, both human and alien, perfectly synchronized. New subjects identified. The ship's alarms erupted instantly. Elias stared at the screen, his face tight. "Prepare all systems," he said quietly. Behind him, the sensor officer whispered in fear, "Captain? I don't think they were trapped." Pause. They were being held. And then the space in front of them began to move closer. The Aurora Dawn shook as the space in front of it tightened again. Not like an explosion. Not like an attack. It felt more like the universe itself was clenching its fist. Captain Elias Varen grabbed the console as alarms screamed across the bridge. The alien fleet ahead groaned in silence as another cruiser bent inward, its hull folding like thin metal under invisible pressure. "Status?" Elias ordered sharply. The sensor officer's hands moved fast, but his voice was unstable. "It's spreading, Captain. The closer we get, the stronger the distortion becomes. It reacts faster now, like it knows we understand it." A second officer shouted, "Another ship is collapsing." On the main screen, a massive alien vessel split into uneven sections. No fire. No debris blast. Just slow, silent crushing as if space itself was eating it piece by piece. Elias stared at it, jaw tight. "It is not random. It's responding to us. Movement triggers it." The bridge went quiet for half a second. Then Elias made a decision. "Change flight pattern. Do not move in straight lines. Random shifts. Now." The pilot blinked. "Captain?" "Do it," Elias said firmly. The ship jerked into motion. Instead of advancing directly, the Aurora Dawn began erratic movement. Small bursts, sudden stops, angled turns that made no logical sense. Immediately something changed. The crushing force ahead wavered. One alien ship that had been slowly collapsing suddenly stabilized. Its structure stopped folding inward, frozen in a fragile balance. A stunned silence filled the bridge. "It paused," the sensor officer whispered. Elias didn't relax. "So it tracks predictability. It feeds on it." A low hum filled the ship as systems recalibrated. The alien signal returned, but now it was unstable, fragmented, like something struggling to maintain focus. "Human vessel, movement pattern, inconsistent." The voice sounded less certain now. Elias leaned closer to the console. "You hear that? It's confused." But the relief did not last. A violent pulse hit the ship. Lights flickered. The distortion field expanded suddenly, faster than before. The alien fleet responded instantly. Several ships began collapsing at once, like the system was correcting itself. The pilot shouted, "It adapted. It adapted to our randomness." Elias clenched his fists. "Then we push harder. Captain, we can't out-random a system that reacts instantly." Elias turned sharply. "We are not trying to be random. We are trying to be human." The bridge fell silent again. Then he spoke with calm focus. "No machine thinks like us. It expects patterns. We break expectations." Before anyone could respond, Elias opened a channel directly into the alien signal. "Do not resist," the distorted alien voice warned. "It learns faster when observed." Elias replied immediately. "Then let it learn something new." He turned to his crew. "Open emotional broadcast channels. All neural feedback loops. I want every human on board linked into the system." A shocked officer stood up. "Captain, that will expose our emotional states to it directly. It could weaponize our fear." Elias nodded once. "Yes, but it will also see everything else." He paused. "Hope, trust, courage, all of it." No one moved for a second. Then slowly the crew obeyed. The Aurora Dawn opened its internal neural sync system. Human minds, emotions, reactions, streamed into the external signal. At first nothing happened. Then the distortion field stuttered. On the alien fleet, something unexpected occurred. A ship that had been collapsing suddenly stopped mid-crush, as if the force lost grip for a moment. The sensor officer gasped. "Captain, it's hesitating." Elias kept his eyes forward. "It is not used to uncertainty without structure." The alien voice returned, now broken and sharper. "Emotional variance detected, unacceptable, unstable input." The field pulsed again, stronger this time, trying to override the interference. But something strange was happening. Instead of fear, the system began receiving conflicting human signals. Fear mixed with determination, pain mixed with protective instinct, panic mixed with sacrifice. The entity could not stabilize. One alien ship suddenly broke free from collapse, drifting outward as if released. Then another. A wave of silence spread across the fleet. The alien commander's voice came through, strained and shocked. "Human, what have you done?" Elias answered without hesitation. "We are not predictable." A sudden interruption hit the bridge. A shadow moved across the Aurora Dawn's external camera feed. Not a ship. Not debris. Something inside the distortion itself. It passed through space like a thought made physical, brushing against the human vessel's sensors. Every console on the bridge flickered at once. Then the entity spoke again, but this time directly into the human ship systems. "Unstable source detected. Core interference required." Elias felt it immediately. The system was no longer just reacting. It was targeting them. The distortion field around the fleet shifted direction. It was no longer just holding the aliens. It was now focusing entirely on the human ship. The sensor officer stepped back in horror. "Captain, it's ignoring the fleet now." Elias stared at the shifting space ahead. "We changed its focus." The pilot shouted, "We should retreat." Elias shook his head slowly. "If we move back, it resets. It adapts again. We are already inside its attention." A deep silence fell. Then Elias made the most dangerous decision yet. "Take us closer." The bridge erupted in protest. "Captain, that's suicide." But Elias didn't flinch. "It's already learning us. If we stop now, it wins." The Aurora Dawn pushed forward again, deeper into the unstable zone. As they crossed the boundary, reality itself felt wrong. Distance did not behave correctly. Ships appeared closer than they should. Light bent in unnatural curves. Then for the first time the alien voice changed tone completely. Not warning. Not confusion. Recognition. "Human vessel approaching core boundary." Pause. Then the message that froze everyone on the bridge. "You were not expected to reach this point." And ahead of them the invisible force began to open, not like a door, but like an eye waking up. The moment the eye opened, the entire space around the Aurora Dawn stopped feeling like space at all. It felt alive. Captain Elias Varon gripped the railing as the ship trembled without moving. The view ahead twisted slowly, like something massive was turning its attention toward them for the first time in a long, long time. The alien fleet behind them drifted in silence. Some ships were still frozen in unstable collapse, others hanging in strange half-states, as if reality had forgotten what to do with them. Then the entity spoke again. "Human vessel, inside core perception zone." The words were not transmitted. They were placed directly into every mind on the bridge. The sensor officer stumbled back. "Captain, it's not using comms anymore. It's inside our neural response layer." Elias did not look away from the view. "So it doesn't need signals. It reads intent." A sudden pulse rolled through the distortion field. And then everything changed. Instead of crushing force, there was stillness. The alien ship stopped moving entirely. Not collapsing. Not drifting. Just suspended, like time itself had been paused around them. Then, deep inside the distortion, something new appeared. A structure. Not built like ships. Not made of metal or light. It looked like folded space arranged in impossible geometry, layers inside layers, like reality stacking itself into a hidden shape. It pulsed slowly, reacting to the presence of the human ship. The pilot whispered, "That's not natural. Nothing forms like that." Elias narrowed his eyes. "It's not natural. It's designed." The alien commander's broken voice returned through the fading fleet signal. "No one has seen the core. No one returns from seeing it clearly." Elias replied calmly. "Then we are the first." But even as he spoke, something inside the ship changed. The lights dimmed. The hum of engines lowered. Every human on board felt it, a pressure in their thoughts, like something was pressing gently against their memories, trying to sort them. The sensor officer gasped. "It's scanning us, not systems, us." A second officer shouted, "Captain, it's projecting illusions into neural feedback." On the screen, the crew suddenly saw things that were not there. Some saw their home worlds burning. Some saw loved ones lost in space. Some saw endless silence where every attempt to act ended in failure. Fear began to rise. But Elias shouted sharply, breaking the tension. "Look at me. Not the illusion." His voice cut through the bridge like a blade. "Focus on real signals. Not what it shows you." One by one the crew forced themselves back. Breathing uneven but present. The entity reacted instantly. Emotional distortion detected. The illusions intensified. But Elias did something unexpected. He stepped forward and opened a direct broadcast channel, not defensive, not filtered. Raw human emotion flowed outward. Not fear suppression. Not control. but everything at once. I am afraid, Elias said loudly, his voice steady but real. But I am still moving forward. Pause. I have lost people before. I still choose to protect strangers I have never met. The bridge went silent. Even the illusions flickered. The entity responded. Inconsistent behavior pattern. Fear not resulting in retreat. Elias continued, his voice growing stronger. That's right. Fear doesn't stop us. It pushes us. The alien fleet behind them began to react. One ship that had been locked and collapsed suddenly stabilized again. Then another. The distortion field wavered. The sensor officer stared at the readings. Captain, it's weakening its hold on them again. Elias nodded once. It cannot calculate contradiction. But the entity was not finished. The core structure ahead pulsed violently. And then it changed tactics. Instead of fear illusions, it began projecting understanding. The bridge screens suddenly showed alien data streams converting into perfect human language patterns. The entity was learning them faster than before. Then it spoke again, clearer now. Human emotional model, adaptive. Self-destructive. Self-protective. Inconsistent. Pause. Then something worse. Efficient for destabilization. The entire ship shuddered. The alien commander suddenly shouted through the fading link, "Human! It is not confused anymore. It is categorizing you." Elias stiffened slightly. Explain. The answer came too late. The distortion field tightened again, but differently this time. Not random. Not chaotic. Controlled. The entity was organizing itself around human behavior. The pilot shouted, "It's adapting into structure. It's building logic around us." Elias realized it instantly. It stopped reacting like a predator. A heavy silence followed. It started reacting like a strategist. The core structure ahead shifted again, and a new message appeared across all systems. Analysis complete. Humanity is not noise. Pause. IT is a variable. The ship alarms screamed again. The entity was no longer just observing them. It was preparing something. The alien fleet behind them suddenly flickered in and out of stability, like they were being re-evaluated in real time. Then the most shocking moment happened. One alien cruiser disappeared completely. Not destroyed. Not collapsed. Just removed. Elias took a sharp breath. Where did it go? The sensor officer's voice shook. Captain, it didn't destroy it. It relocated it. The bridge froze. Elias stared at the core structure ahead as it pulsed once more. Now fully awake, fully aware, and fully focused on them. The alien commander's voice came one last time, filled with fear. You were never meant to interact with it. Pause. You were meant to be contained. The transmission cut off. Silence returned. And in that silence, the core structure opened another layer, deeper than before, revealing something that should not have been visible at all. Something that was watching back. The moment something looked back from inside the core, every system on the Aurora Dawn failed for half a second. Not shut down. Not damaged. Just erased from understanding. Captain Elias Varen felt it too. A sharp silence pressed into his mind, like a thought had been removed before he could finish it. The bridge lights flickered back on, but the feeling of wrongness stayed. The alien fleet behind them flickered violently. Some ships appeared for a moment, then vanished again. Others hung in unstable positions, as if reality was struggling to decide whether they existed. Then the core spoke again. Not as a voice. As meaning. Interaction confirmed. The words formed inside every human mind at once. The pilot shouted, "Captain, it's locking onto us completely." Elias didn't move his eyes from the distorted structure ahead. It was already locked. Now it is deciding what we are. A sudden shift happened in space. The core did not attack. It opened. A massive region of folded space unfolded like layers of a hidden machine finally waking. Inside it, structures rotated slowly, rings inside rings, moving without visible energy source. It was not built like ships. It was built like logic given shape. The sensor officer's voice dropped to a whisper. "Captain, it's not a weapon. It's a system." Elias narrowed his eyes. For what? The answer came instantly, not from the crew but from the entity itself. Containment field, active. Pause. Purpose, isolation of variable species. The alien commander's broken signal returned, weaker than before. We tried to escape it, but it never allowed escape. It learns what leaves. Elias clenched his jaw. So every fleet here was not trapped randomly. A cold realization formed. They were collected. At that moment the core changed again. A pulse moved outward from it, slow and deliberate. Every alien ship froze in place. Then one by one they began to shift, not collapsing this time but aligning. Forming patterns in space like pieces being arranged on a board. The pilot shouted, "It's reorganizing the fleet." Elias felt it immediately. "It's not saving them. It's categorizing them." The entity responded. Species grouping complete. Behavior models stored. The ships were not being destroyed. They were being archived. Like samples. The bridge fell into uneasy silence. Then something worse happened. The core's attention fully focused on the Aurora Dawn. And the human ship began to move, without engines. The entire vessel drifted forward, pulled gently but firmly toward the structure. The pilot panicked. "We are being drawn in." "Fight it," someone shouted. "Do not." Elias snapped instantly. Everyone froze. Elias took a breath. If it wanted to crush us, it already would have. It is not using force now. It is using evaluation. He stepped closer to the console. "We go forward." Controlled. No resistance. The crew hesitated, then obeyed. The ship moved deeper into the core's layered space. Inside, reality became unstable. Distance stopped behaving correctly. The ship saw itself from outside for a brief second, as if multiple versions of it existed at once. Time flickered, moments repeated, then skipped forward without warning. The entity spoke again. Observation depth increased. Human response, non-linear. The sensor officer suddenly gasped. "Captain, it's replaying our decisions. It's simulating outcomes." On screen the crew saw alternate versions of themselves. In one they retreated and died. In another they attacked and vanished instantly. In another they never entered the system at all. Elias watched all of it without blinking. "It is trying to predict us." The alien commander's voice returned, broken but urgent. "Do not let it finish understanding you. Every species it fully understands becomes contained forever." Elias turned sharply. "Contained how?" No answer came. Because the core answered instead. "Understanding complete equals stable variable." Pause. Stable variables require isolation. The meaning hit the bridge like a physical force. Elias whispered, "If it fully understands us, we stop being free." The pilot shouted, "Captain, we are almost inside it." The Aurora Dawn crossed a threshold. And everything stopped. Not movement. Not sound. Even thought felt slowed. They were inside the core structure now. A vast inner space stretched around them, filled with rotating patterns of light and geometry. Alien ships floated far away like frozen memories. Every direction felt like forward and backward at the same time. Then the entity did something new. It showed Elias something personal. A vision of Earth. Not destroyed. Not saved. Observed. Human cities, oceans, life, all displayed like data being scanned. Elias felt anger rise. "Get out of my mind." The entity responded calmly. "Not intrusion. Simulation for completion." Elias clenched his fists. "We are not data." Pause. Then the entity replied. "Confirmation required." And suddenly, every human on board felt it. A question being forced into their thoughts. Not spoken. Not translated. Just placed there. "What defines you if you are fully known?" The bridge went silent. The crew struggled. Some shook their heads. Some closed their eyes. The question felt impossible to escape. The sensor officer whispered, "It wants a final pattern. Something it can categorize." Elias stepped forward. He looked directly into the core structure. And answered. "You won't get one." Pause. The entity responded. Unacceptable response. The entire structure pulsed violently. Space fractured around them. And then the most dangerous thing yet began. The core started rewriting reality around the human ship. Not destroying it. Not moving it. Changing what it meant to exist there. Elias felt the shift immediately. And he realized the truth too late. They were no longer fighting to survive. They were fighting to remain unknowable. And the core had just started its final evaluation. The final evaluation began the moment reality started rewriting around the Aurora Dawn. At first it was subtle. The bridge lights flickered, but not randomly. They flickered in patterns that matched human heartbeat rhythms. The air felt the same, yet somehow heavier, like it had been measured and adjusted. Captain Elias Varon felt it in his bones. The entity was not attacking anymore. It was finishing its understanding. Outside the viewport, the alien fleet hung frozen in structured patterns. No longer collapsing, no longer drifting. Each ship was placed like an item in a vast invisible archive. And at the center of it all, the core structure pulsed with slow, patient certainty. Final classification in progress, it declared. The voice no longer felt alien. It felt precise. Too precise. Elias stepped forward. You are trying to define us. Correct, the entity replied. Pause. Definition required for containment stability. The pilot turned sharply. Captain, it thinks understanding us will let it lock us permanently. Elias nodded slowly. That's exactly what it's doing. The sensor officer looked at him in fear. Then what do we do? Elias didn't answer immediately, because he realized something critical. Every reaction they had given so far, fear, courage, unpredictability, emotion, had been studied, cataloged, used. The entity was no longer reacting. It was predicting. And worse, it was adapting faster than them. The core pulsed again. Subject, humanity. Status, incomplete model. A strange silence followed. Then it continued. Request, final data resolution. The space around the ship began to tighten again, but differently than before. Not crushing. Not distorting. Simplifying. The universe itself was being reduced into clean patterns, removing uncertainty piece by piece. The alien commander's voice returned one last time, faint and broken. If it completes you, you become part of it. Then the signal died forever. Elias clenched his fists. It doesn't want to destroy us. It wants to finish us. The entity responded instantly. Completion is stability. The bridge fell silent. Every crew member felt it now, the pressure of something trying to flatten them into a single understandable shape. A system without unknowns. A species without surprises. A safe variable. Then Elias made a decision that changed everything. Open all neural links again. The sensor officer froze. Captain, we already tried that. It feeds on emotional input. Elias shook his head. No. This time we do something different. He turned slowly. We stop trying to confuse it. The crew stared at him. We show it what it can never stabilize. He stepped forward and activated the full broadcast channel again. Not defensive. Not chaotic. But unified. Every human on board, every thought, every fear, every hope, streamed outward. The entity reacted immediately. Input increased. Analysis accelerating. The core structure tightened its focus. Elias spoke into the signal. We are not one thing. Pause. We are not stable. Another pause. We do not resolve. The entity responded faster now. Model integration attempting. But something was happening. The human signal was not becoming clearer. It was becoming more complex. Memories layered over emotions. Contradictions stacked instead of canceling out. Fear did not remove courage. Loss did not remove purpose. Confusion did not remove action. The system struggled. Unresolvable data pattern detected. The alien fleet around them began to shift slightly again. Not collapsing. Not freezing. But loosening. For the first time the archive was failing to remain perfect. Elias continued, voice steady. You cannot contain what you cannot simplify. The entity hesitated. A new response came. Simplification required for survival. Elias stepped closer to the viewport, staring directly into the core. Then you will never understand us. A long pause followed. The core pulsed, once, twice. Then something unexpected happened. The entity spoke, but not as command. As uncertainty. If unstable, then why survive? The question echoed across every system. Even the crew went still. The sensor officer whispered, it's questioning its own logic. Elias saw it instantly. It has never encountered something it cannot reduce. The core structure began to tremble. Not physically. Conceptually. Reality around them flickered between versions. Some where humanity was classified, others where it wasn't, and some where the system failed entirely. The entity struggled to stabilize. Error. Model breaking. Elias spoke softly now. You built a system for everything that makes sense. Pause. But we are what doesn't. The core emitted a deep pulse. The alien fleet reacted. Ships that were once archived began to drift freely again, breaking formation. The system was losing control. Containment failure risk increased. The entity tried one final time. Final classification. Humanity is. It stopped. The sentence never completed. Because it couldn't. The structure inside the core fractured slightly, not collapsing but losing coherence. For the first time since the encounter began, the system could not finish its thought. Silence filled the space. Then, very slowly, the alien ships began to reappear fully in normal space, no longer suspended. The Aurora Dawn drifted backward automatically, as if released from gravity itself. The entity spoke once more. Not as command. Not as analysis. But as something new. Unresolved variable. Retained. Pause. Observation continues. The core structure dimmed slightly but did not disappear. It was still there. Still watching. Still learning. But no longer controlling. The alien commander's faint signal returned one last time. You did not destroy it. Pause. You made it unsure. Elias exhaled slowly. That's all we had to do. The fleet behind them was free now. Slowly recovering. Slowly moving again. But the core remained active. And as the Aurora Dawn turned away, preparing to leave the system, the entity sent one final message across all channels. New priority, explore humanity directly. The ship cleared the boundary of the distortion field. Silence returned. But before full distance was reached, the sensor officer looked back at the readings. His voice dropped. Captain? Elias turned. What is it? The officer hesitated. It's no longer studying the fleet. Pause. It's following us.